You just told about the test which has been conducted in KPMG. I also came across it. So, do we get only one chance to give test? Because if the call doesn't come, can we give test again, or is it not
So there is
possible?
like, if you have given the test, you cannot register again for the next 6 months. So make sure, like, you can only give it once.
Okay, but if the call doesn't come, then we have missed the chance.
Then Big Four is not like the only place where you can do your articleship, right? There are other Big Fours as well. There are other firms as well.
But
And
like my first preference is Big Four then.
everyone first preference is Big Four.
Not everyone, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Everyone
We'll,
anyway will
we'll
join
come
this
to
call.
that. We'll come to probably answering this question at length a little later as to if not before, then what or how to
Yeah.
go about it. But for now, probably you have Shubham's answer. Vignesh, you can go next.
Yeah, hey guys. My question is in specific to in specific to the tax department at a Big Four. As of now, I'm of the opinion that having spoken to a few and even observed the designation profiles of some articles in the tax department, that the Big Four are kind of reluctant in hiring articles for the tax department, or maybe it's reserved only for the rank holders. Is this true? And secondly, going along the same lines, if this is the practice, will this constrict an article in the tax department's learning and application scope, because maybe the team or department may not be comfortable with an article handling intricate tasks?
What did I think, Shubham? I'll go first. I'm keen on answering this question, I would say. To be very honest, I wanted to come to this earlier as well. Between tax and audit, I think Ashish did mention a ratio, but I find a ratio little different in Deloitte Corsair, I would say, at least in the Ahmedabad office. So in our attempt, I mean, in fact, when we were all taken as articles, the ratio was 18 were hired as articles in the Ahmedabad office, and just 2 into tax and 16 into audit, all start audit. And the two of us, one was me, that is into direct tax, and another was Bhavya, that was into transfer pricing, transfer pricing. So that is the ratio. I'm not saying that is the ratio that is going to be everywhere, but yeah, it is extremely true that the number of vacancies that are there for the tax articles is comparatively very less as compared to those in audit. Coming to a second, and again, I think you asked 3 questions. Second was, I should not be taking too many questions that are part of the same question. Next is whether only rank holders are taken. I would say not. I have seen non-rankers also working into tax. But see, the point is, if there are hardly any vacancies, if say there's just one vacancy, and if there are 2 people applying and both having the same caliber, probably a non-ranker and a ranker having the same caliber, I mean, I think they may prefer a ranker only basis the fact that he's got a rank. So that's how rankers have stand a higher chance of getting into taxation. But there's no rule ke sirf rankers ko hi milta hai. And the third question, will it affect the learning? Certainly not. If they are taking you as an article, they will make sure that you learn and you progress. So it will certainly not affect your learning. In fact, probably I would like just make it quick. I was probably the only article into direct tax, and that helped me in my learning, because I was the one supposed to handle each and everything, like deal with all the seniors in my team, etc. So that in fact improves your learning is the way I would put it. Just to like quickly summarize. Thanks, Vignesh. Hope that answers. Rashi Ji, you can go next.
Yeah, first of all, thank you all very much for this insightful session. First question that I would like to direct at Shubham, that he prior said that KPMG allows interdepartmental transfer, and so it is like flexible in that thing. So are you sure, like at all locations, is it true? Or because other Devesh and others said that it is not true for Deloitte and other Big Fours.
See, again, it all depends
on
on
that basis. Then I'll obviously go for KPMG because okay, yeah, continue.
Yeah, so I was saying it depends from location to location, as well as what is the situation about the vacancy. So as of now, if I talk about the situation, there are a lot of vacancies in corporate tax department, but as per the KPMG policy, we are not hiring articles. So I see a lot of people transferring from audit to tax at this point, but this was not the situation like 2 years back. So there is not like a one word answer to this, and this should not be like the sole criteria for you to decide your articleship. I feel when you are signing up for an articleship, you should see it as a 3-year path only, because then you're learning. Like it is better if you like do a 3-year articleship in one field rather than like either ye bhi kar lo, wo bhi kar lo, because what happens is first year you learn, and in second year you apply it on your own, and that is very important. So don't think about transfer, Abhishek, unless you feel you start doing audit and you feel that okay, audit is not my cup of tea, and maybe I was well suited for tax. Then maybe you can consider transfer. But I feel as a new joinee, you should not see transfer as a sole criteria for selecting your articles.
Rightly said by Shubham, and I just want to like add something. Don't really go with the mindset of having a transfer when you go. And the very reason of me saying this is, agar aapko pata hai ki aap ek saal baad transfer lene hi wale ho, either from audit to tax or say from the firm, you might not have as much interest learning audit in the first year. And ye bhi hota hai, or not just audit. In fact, that goes for tax as well. You might, and ye bhi hota hai ki to get a grip over something, you will really need some time. So ek saal to grip aate nikal jayega, and then you like quickly move. So I would say that might not be suggestible. It again depends from person to person, differs a lot, but certainly should not that have have as a criteria in choosing firms. And again, please don't take Shubham's word as a given. I'm sure what he's saying is very confident about it. All of us are. But later on, if the policies change, please don't come holding us for the same.
Yeah, that
Thanks.
is why I just wanted some more clarity on this. Also, on the same lines, I have to extend that. So in case I work in the Department of Statutory Audit in my Articleship, and post qualification, can I go into other fields like I will be eligible for taxation or transfer pricing and other fields as well, right? For a job.
Let me. I think Zeal can answer this in short.
Yeah, Rashi, let me be very clear. If you're going into statutory audit, you will be having various opportunities into your hand. But if you are asking me specifically for transfer pricing, I have seen certainly a particular colleague of mine who was senior to me who did her articleship from statutory audit, but he did his post qualification job in transfer pricing. So there is no restriction as such. But I think when you do 3 years of your articleship from statutory audit, you will be more you will be in a more advantageous position to leverage your abilities which you acquired in 3 years in a different domain rather than tax or rather than transfer pricing. But it solely depends upon one's interest. But certainly the opportunities would be open to you, but you would not be the first preference to go for that particular role.
Okay, sure.
Ashish, you have anything to add, or I can?
Yeah, just one thing that obviously the opportunities would be open, and maybe say if you're getting into your home firm, I don't think that would be a challenge to take a new department after qualification. So they would be happy to take you in any department once you clear their interviews. So that is how it goes.
Okay. Also, the last thing is, can we negotiate for clients if we work in Big Four, like with the manager, if we think that
that is based on your rapport, as we
Yes.
have been mentioning from the last.
In the initial first year, you need to behave as a holy cow, as in whatever they are giving to you, you just demonstrate your abilities that you are capable of doing something more than whatever is being allocated to you. Definitely, you can then negotiate with your manager that, see, these are my abilities, and I think I will be able to leverage these abilities in this particular client in a more efficient manner.
Okay.
Agreed.
Sure.
Yeah, no more
thank you
questions,
so
please.
much.
Let us move on to the next one.
That's it.
Palak board.
Thank you all of you for conducting this. And my question is, how do I choose between statutory audit and tax if I'm not inclined towards any one of you? All of you said that you were inclined toward tax or audit like that. And what is the subjects to be studied for technical round? And there is a norm, like means in Big Four you become expert in one of the department, and others you means even don't have basic knowledge of other department. Then what is your point of view?
I think while Zeal might be able to answer it better, I'll just put it in crux because I've had a lot of discussion on this with Zeal. Zeal initially was very inclined to go into tax instead of audit, but later somehow he ended up in audit, and a post-facto analysis says that he's very happy about having been in audit, and he's very happy about how things went with him. So I would say don't really have a preconceived notion. You may have a preference, but at the same time, sometimes it's better to go with the flow as well. I mean, even though probably if say I would have had a preference for tax, but if I might not have had got tax, then I might have had also to end up in audit. So it's okay to have a preference, but I think don't really have your mind blocked. Go with the flow. Probably try appearing for both the interviews, and or maybe again yeah, I think you guys must have lost me for a bit. Sorry for that. I think having said that, given the fact that audit has more chances of, the more number of articles ending up in audit as compared to tax, I think you may prefer audit, given the fact that you might have a higher chance of landing into it. That's my personal take, but the answer might differ. Zeal, if you have anything to say.
One word answer, Palak. If you are not sure of which domain you are, inclined to, go for audit, because you will be able to explore all the domains, be it finance, because you will be having clients which will be dealing into derivatives or financial instruments. You will be getting that particular perspective as well. So go for audit. Then after post qualification, you can take a call as in what is the domain which suits you. That is a one short and simple answer for my side.
And don't take me as okay, मैं audit suggest कर रहा हूँ तो मेरे को tax अच्छा नहीं लगा. There's nothing like it. I have really liked working into tax, but talking very practically, I'm like giving my answer. Thanks, Palak. Shubham, you can go next. Shubham Upadhyay.
Hello everyone. My question is, doesn't it reduces the chances of getting a shortlist if I'm applying for the articleship before the results? And if the answer is no, then what's the most important criteria for getting the shortlist?
Should I take it up?
Shubham, yeah, please take it up.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like there are other skills as well which are important as far as you getting selected in a Big Four. So this shortlisting in KPMG, I'm telling about, this happens only based on the self-assessment test, which is the link for it. And I don't see any harm in giving that test, Abhi. So like Abhi said, there are no issues with that.
Thanks, Shubham. Hope that answers your question. Harshita, Madan, you can go.
Harshita.
Yeah, hi everyone. I would like to ask a couple of questions. First one being that if I choose stat audit, so when if I get selected in Big Four, so do they give us the like specific task, like I have to do only like bank ka ya assets ka koi ya liability ka, like do they tell us, or do we have a chance to choose कि कौन सा हमको मतलब audit करना है, मतलब कि वो restrict कर देंगे या नहीं ऐसा. And second question being कि you said that you have so many like in audit there is so much working hours, you tend to work till 2 a.m. So after that, how do you manage to study? And third one being, can you please tell about M&A tax also?
I think Zeel can answer the first question. Ashish can answer the second one. First one being
Yeah,
about the
Harshita.
specific area. Yeah.
So basically, if I talk about the areas in the initial 2 to 3 months, certainly you can expect something with respect to bank reconciliation testing, or something with respect to testing of operating expenses, because that is something which is very simple, and that will not be requiring more analytical skills. But once you go on to the articleship period, maybe 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line, you will be allocated more analytical areas, which involves more skills with respect to processing the variances, or how you are able to question the clients. And so there is no specific area which will be allocated to you for an entire client, but I would say that depends upon the client which you have. If you are having a big client, as in if you are having a multinational conglomerate with you, then maybe that can be a case, and that depends from team to team, that you will be handling bank for entire 3 years of your period. And if it is a small or mid-sized client with you, then there is a scope wherein you will be able to have hands-on experience with all the balance sheet items. So it depends upon the client with which you go. I have witnessed 2 types of people who got their experience. Person who exposure of auditing various account balances, but some account balances because of the fact that he was working on a big client. I think that answers your first question. It depends upon the client which you have.
You were inaudible in between, actually.
I think I think Ashish can take up the part where Zeel dropped off. Yeah.
So Zeel actually wants to say is if there are two types of clients. One, as he mentioned, a big conglomerate, and the other could be, say, smaller listed clients, or could be private clients. So if there's a big conglomerate like, say, Tata Steel, you would be doing the revenue sections for a period of 3 years. But say during the whole 3 years, it's not something that you would be continuously doing a single client, because there are a bit of cooling periods wherein say private clients pitch in, or you might even get other listed client. Usually two listed clients do not conflict for a single article at a time, so you usually get other private clients where you get a bit bigger hold. You might be doing even 5-7 areas at a time, because the client is smaller and they cannot employ more resources on the client. So that is right. How it functions. And Zeel rightly mentioned, you could get areas like cash and bank and OPEX at the start, but maybe it could be different for you also. It went different for me as well, because I started with consolidation, so that could be different for you. So that's the first thing. Second part on the 2am, after 2am, how did I manage? So yeah, like everyone mentioned, you need to keep a time slot. Could be day, could be night. For me, night was more suitable, so I took a period of, say, 1 hour or something like that after 2am even, and did so. But in the initial 1.5 years, 2 years, my focus was on completing the coaching classes. So what I did was, at 2am, I used to come back, I used to sleep and get back to tuition at 6. So that is how my day went.
Thanks Ashish and Zeel for answering those. I think I'll come to the M&A part, and I keep it a little brief over here so that we can answer the other questions as well. Basically, M&A tax, so it's majorly like we discussed earlier. It's actually a niche field, and I might not really be the perfect person to comment on this, given the fact that my major revolved around direct tax. But M&A, I would say, is specifically M&A tax would specifically revolve around aspects of taxation around a particular deal that might be happening. It may include, say, either a restructuring thing, or probably I could say, I mean, tax efficient restructuring, if I could put it that way. It may include due diligences, a lot of things, in fact. And one very interesting thing that was there in the M&A bid that I did was, so when there is restructurings and all of that, you really think of possibilities of having the most tax efficient structure of probably a corporate and all of that. It's really interesting to brainstorm over all of that stuff. And while you might be really naive to think about all of that, certainly when you see your seniors, you really get to learn a lot so far as those things are concerned. But I think, again, like I said, this was the very basic that I could explain you about M&A tax, and there's certainly much more to it than this. Devendra, I think we can move to your questions. Hope that answers your question, Harshita.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Devendra.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I joined CA course in 2018. I passed foundation in November 2018, and then I left studies due to some reasons. I am starting again now, and I have given my December 2021 exams for Inter. I'm not hoping a very positive result, so I'm preparing again for both groups in May 2022, and I want to join a Big Four. So there might be any chance of having difficulty why there was a 3-year gap in my studies?
That question would anyways come into your interviews if you get to the interviews, that why was there a gap, and if you have a reasonable answer to that, it is always considerable, because everyone cannot be a superhuman and everyone's life cannot move on the same path. So if you have an exception, that can obviously be considered. And say you mentioned that you're not confident on the first attempt that you gave and you're going for the second in case. Hope so you don't. But if that is the case, there are different policies for different big fours. For PwC particularly, it is they don't take after 3 attempts, so could be different for Deloitte and KPMG and EY.
Okay, sir. So, sir, if I have a good marks, you mean more than average marks in my May 2022 attempt, then they might reconsider if they have the opposite policy.
See, there is nothing for say a 3 attempt policy. The policy is very strict that is being followed at any big four. So if they have something in return, they would follow it irrespective of anything. Firstly, and secondly, there is no above average or below average. There's simple. You have passed or you are a ranker. There's just these two buckets and nothing else.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Priyanka, you can go next.
Yeah. So what I would like to ask is, what is the scope of work in direct tax during initial months, given that we have limited knowledge right now? Some skills that you wish you would knew before entering the Big Four. And another question that I would like to ask is, are there any preference or options for female articles who do not wish to go out of city for audits?
I think I'll leave the second question for Zeel or Ashish to answer. Unfortunately, we don't have a female article, a past article. Would certainly take that into consideration the next time we have this session. But yeah, Zeel and Ashish can take that up. I think for the first question, I'll answer first, and if Shubham wants, he can certainly add. Initial months, it actually depends a lot upon when you join. For that matter, my joining was somewhere in August, given the fact that I had appeared for the May exams. And if you see, more or less after the August, August month, September and October, or say November are the tax return filing season. So majorly when I joined, the majority of my work revolved around, I'm saying majority, it's not just that, but majority of my work actually revolved around income tax returns. Right, that is majorly because we had the tax season going on at that point of time. And when I say this, if you talk about any particular skills that you should certainly have before, I think everyone is at par when they are joining Articleship. So not really anything in particular, but yeah, one thing for sure, whether it is tax or audit, your basic concept should be really clear. So you may not be able to really, make a computation of total income for a company, but you should at least be able to understand what's written in a computation of total income from what you've learned back in your intern. So that's the basic bit of knowledge that you should certainly have. But then again, it will differ a lot from team to team and the point of time that you join. So I think Shubham, if you're there, you may answer, because Shubham had joined a little later. But then again, like I'm putting it out, it's not about you given a particular task. Yeah, certainly. So again, talking about litigation stuff like probably drafting submissions for appeals, or maybe drafting appeals at the first place, is something that comes after a point in time. So the initial period would be basically you working more or less on, say, basic letters to be submitted to the assessing officer, or the submissions to be made, basic ones, probably taking reference from the previous year. That is what probably helps you when you are in the first year of your article, especially when direct tax is concerned. And returns is something that I had worked on towards the start of it, and compliances are actually something that keep going around the year. Shubham, the question here is basically what can you expect? What kind of work can you expect in the first few months of your articleship in direct tax?
Okay, so I think you have summarized the return wala part. So like the ways joined after his May attempt, I joined like after my November attempt, and with my in my case it was majority of litigation stuff, what I learned during the first 2-3 months of my articleship. In fact, like within like the first week of my articleship, there was a there was an authority of advanced ruling. There was a hearing before it, and I got a chance to like see our counsel representing before the authorities and arguing the case. So it depends from team to team, because at the same time, like there were certain other teams who were filing the revised returns. So again, that return wala compliance wala part comes into picture. There were teams who were doing advisory stuff because of some big client like big amalgamation was happening. So it depends from team to team. But like if I have to like summarize the timelines, October and November it's return season. Now it's like February and March it's assessment season, and rest it's like litigation and advisory combined. So this is like the general timeline for direct tax.
Yeah, thanks. I think just one thing, basically, I think the session is ever expanding, and while I don't really mind attending or catering to each and every query, I'm sure it's a weekend, tomorrow being Sunday, everyone might wanting to drop off as soon as possible. Having said that, not ending the session right away, but trying to make it really quick. So just one request for all those whose questions have either been answered or have at least raised one question, if you could actually raise down your hands, or if you feel those questions are not very much on priority, so that we can take the other questions. I think we'll take 5 more questions, and post that we'll come to whatever points that we have. So we'll go with the first 5, and again can and again, if we feel like we can certainly have another session on the topic after results, or maybe sometime soon. I mean, I'm not defining the word soon over here, but for those whose questions have been left unanswered, can certainly come back to that later. Right now, taking the first 5 questions that I see, I mean, in terms of the hands raised, and then we'll move on to the closing remarks that we want to give. Closing remarks in terms of the questions that we had said we will answer. So Shubhanshi, going ahead with your question.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for organizing this session. So I am a second-year student, and I have given my attempt in December 2021, and I'm currently pursuing BCom honors in Sri Venkateswara College, DU. So if I get the desirable result and I go for a desirable firm, then like, is it apt to shift from a regular college to an SOL, or should I wait 1 year, or like, what are you?
Please wait 1 year. Please wait and complete your stay in the college. This is like
But the college is online, so that's the only thing.
But Shubham, maybe for Kolkata, we follow completely different practice.
And she's like in Venkateswara College. It's such an amazing college, yeah. Enjoy your 3rd year of college. There will be a lot of opportunities. Please enjoy it. You'll regret once you'll join your articles. You will miss those college days.
But ho hi nahi raha college day, so everything is online abhi.
I know.
I think that is something that makes it easier, right?
Attend CA student conferences.
And we'll come back to that in the once we're done with the questions. We'll certainly come back to that. Yeah. But see, again, like, this is something that Shubham mentions. Like Ashish said, there is something that is really there. I mean, there might be a different practice there in Kolkata, but then again, at the end of the day, it's about the personal preference. Talking about me particularly, I would really prefer going to a college if possible. But like you mentioned, it's an online college, so you know how much you'll be able to enjoy in an online college. So take the call for you. If there's even a bit of enjoyment and there's a bit of value addition, if you feel, please, go ahead with that. I mean, complete your college. But like Ashish said, there's also perspective of not going for that, and a lot of people follow it. So again, can speak to multiple seniors maybe at your college as to what they did, and the online bit of it you know better. But
you can speak with Arjun.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this, I think, one question that was left unanswered in between, and that was about the female part of female articles.
Yes.
And yes, I think Zeel, if you can take it up. Sorry, that
so
was
basically, this is a very subjective question, and that will be depending upon the geography wherein you are. It depends upon the manager. It depends upon the team. But personally speaking, the team in which I work, I have witnessed some sort of flexibility which was given to female article assistants, or rather female employees, who were having genuine reasons to not travel to client locations which were in different cities. But if you ask me, you will be asked this particular question right from your personal interview, that will you be open to travel to client locations or travel to different cities. Then I think that is something which you will have to answer in the interview right at that particular point of time.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I think let's move on to Soumya Agarwal. Yes. Not sure if I pronounced it right way.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for organizing this session, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to resolve my query. So I wanted to ask is that 3 years down, I aim towards working as a business incubator, or someone who is more involved in corporate strategy building, like making business models and doing project financing sort of works. So which domain should I choose in articleship, and from which big four or mediocre, what plan of action should I pursue?
I think if Ashish, you could answer it, or else Shubham could.
So say if that is the case, as I mentioned, nowadays before I started taking articles in advisory also. At least PwC has in some sections. So if there is something in the advisory that you can get best to, that is the first point of action what you can do. Or else you, on a second hand choice, what you can do is you start with your articleship, say with the available options in the Big Four, and then you switch to an industrial training for an 18-month period. So in that, what happens is you can get the firm of your choice, which can offer you such practices of business. So that is what you can do best. So if getting an advisory is a difficult task, you can rather switch to industrial training, and that would be the best thing, I think.
Okay, so any specific choice for industrial training, like which company or something where I can do this kind of works? Because generally I see they say that industrial training will be given in that domain in which you have your articleship, or you should have prior experience in articleship in this particular domain.
No, that is not the case in my understanding. So in industrial training, it's again from the fresh, and they treat you as people who are yet to learn. So I don't think that would be a restriction at their end anytime. That won't be the case.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think the last 3 questions we'll take. Anisha Bhachandani, you could go ahead with you. Yeah, we'll certainly send the link for KPMG on WhatsApp, certainly. Anisha, you could go ahead.
I recently had an interview with BDO for internal audit department. So I want to ask how the working opportunities differ from internal audit and statutory audit point of view for an article.
Okay, so Yazid, you want to add?
Yes. So basically, as far as the reviews which I have got from the risk advisory part or the internal audit part, is that it will be more on the concern with the business processes of a particular client which you will be assigned to, rather than the the knowledge part which you actually acquire in your CA final with respect to financial reporting or with respect to audit and assurance. It will be more on the operational part. So it depends upon one's perception and one's inclination. But given the choice which if I would have, I would not prefer an internal audit role because of the opportunities which I will be having, and because of the I would like to have an exposure of all the areas which I learn, and I would like to have the exposure wherein I am able to link the theoretical knowledge with the practical knowledge. I think statutory audit department can be a good choice if you are having that particular perception. But if you are having a perception that you want to gain a good understanding of the business processes, how the controls are structured, or how the businesses are actually run, even risk advisory or internal audit can be a good option for you.
So pursuing academics along with it, we should give in priority statutory audit, first priority statutory audit and then internal audit.
So for me, it will be statutory audit.
Correct, because if you want to leverage something to your studies, statutory audit can help you rather than internal audit.
I hope that answers your question, Anisha. Yeah, thanks a lot. Divika Sharma, you can go next.
Sir, I just wanted to know how to get to know which firms are open for vacancies or what. That's my question. Whether to visit their website or what.
I think Zeel, if you want to answer, go ahead. Yes,
I think this is a very tricky question for me to answer, because you can stay active on LinkedIn because there are many big fours who are posting their vacancies on LinkedIn. However, if I say on website you can check, but that is not a genuine case because sometimes these websites are not updated. You can stay in connection with the people or the associates or the articles who are right now working in that particular domain, and ask them for inquiring as in what is the vacancy or whether there is any vacancy, and you can directly approach the HR of that particular domain and drop your CV over there for consideration. So there are 2-3 options for you to explore into, and I think that can land an articleship job over there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think Yash, you can go next, followed by Anushka, because I think Anushka didn't get a chance to ask a question. Yash, please.
Yeah. So what is the time difference between aptitude test and getting a call for interview? So like how much time do we get to prepare for interview? Simple question.
It actually differs, but any time between say 1 to 2 weeks. Could be up to 3 weeks, but I think a fortnight is what you can expect.
Okay. And if suppose KPI, yes.
Yeah, it's a bit longer for PwC. Just mentioned.
Might be, yeah. Okay. Up to a month. So anywhere between 1 week.
Up to a month, correct. Up to a month.
Yeah, up to a month. Can't really,
you will have to have patience. You will have to have patience because you will be having this temptation to go for a mid-sized firm since that you have not got a call from Big Four. But it depends upon your inclination that if you are keen enough to join a Big Four, then have some patience, and the doors of opportunity will open a bit later than the mid-sized firm.
Correct. And one more question I had: if KPMG is offering only audit and other places are offering tax, so if I've got an offer of audit from KPMG, so how long can I hold that offer if I'm able to get some offer from tax at a later stage?
Please don't hold is my one word answer.
Correct.
But
Actually, these are not job offers. These are not post qualification offers that you are thinking to hold. I think you should go for the first thing that comes across.
And simple question: Do you prefer pen drive classes or physical for CA final?
Let's leave that. Let's leave that.
Audit, if you're traveling, then how do you
manage
just a
second. Sorry. Really sorry to interrupt you. Probably you can be the last person to leave this Zoom call. I'll stay with you and answer you this question, but the others might have to drop off.
Sure.
So Anushka, if you still are there and you want to ask, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, guys. My question is to Shubham. I had appeared for both groups in the December attempt, but I am expecting to clear only group 1 right now for now. So should I register to that link or should I, just work with a mediocre firm or say a local CA, work under a local CA for the time being and clear my second group in the May attempt with good marks and then apply for a Big Four?
Are you sure you want to apply for Big Four only?
Like any good firm, Big Four would be obviously after 6 months, yeah, like after May attempt, after clearing my second group.
Like this is like my suggestion that why do you want even to join mediocre firm at this point? Prepare for your second group, clear it, and then apply for Big Fours, because this is like a general practice that Big Fours, we don't accept transfer cases in general. Like if there are 2 candidates and one is a transfer case and one is a non-transfer case, it is generally preferred to have a non-transfer case because that guy will do 3 years of full articleship. Plus there are other formalities for transfers as well. So
won't that shift my CA final exams for 6 months?
That is like, you have to take that call.
Correct. I would say the same.
Like that's a very risky call.
I won't
Okay,
say
so
it's
you
a
guys,
risky call. It's a difficult call to make. Both having their pros and cons. On one way, probably you have one side you have Big Four, another side you have 6 months. So
Okay, so you guys suggest I should wait for my second group, like I should not join articleship for now.
if you want to go for Big Four.
In case for Big Four.
Yeah. If I want to go for Big Four or any like Big 10, you say.
But have that
honestly
thing in mind.
Okay, फिर भी there is a chance कि you might not get it. So वो risk लेके चलना. I know this is why you mentioned the riskier call. So that's the call you will have to take by yourself.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, all the best. I think I still see 3 hands raised: Yashraj, Vaibhav, and Rishabh. We might, or I can still stay on the link till the end. You can ask me the questions then. But if for the others who might want to drop off, we'll answer the last 2-3 questions that we were supposed to. Also share a couple of experiences, especially points around conferences, etc. that I wanted to. But first, let us for all those who are interested in all of that, let us first answer the question as to if not Big Four, then what? I think Ashish, you may, if you want to take it up, followed by like any of you guys. If not Ashish, I think Shubham, you can start.
Just one thing, Devesh. I need to actually drop off. So thank you guys. Sorry, I have other commitments and cannot continue. But yeah, surely would do it for next time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ashish, for like giving out so much of your time to all of us and addressing the queries of all of these. Thanks a lot for spending a Saturday night addressing these queries. Thanks a lot, Ashish.
Thank you. Yeah. Good night. Bye.
Yes, Shubham.
Yeah. So basically, you have to like decide that Big Four is not the end of world, right? There are more than like 10,000 CA students who clear in every attempt, and not everyone can get into Big Four. Plus, the work which like all of us will agree, even Devesh and we'll agree that the work, it's not like out of the world. कुछ नया ही सिखा देंगे आपको. You'll get to know the same work even in a mediocre firm. It's more about the personality and your confidence level, which Big Four grooms you well. But at the same time, you can work on those skills while working in a mediocre firm as well. So you have to put in that effort to learn and to like improve those skills while being in a non-Big Four. Plus, there are like so many big firms like BDO and GD and GT and like Harrier and so many of them. So you'll get a very good exposure there. And maybe after applying there, you can consider taking a transfer to a Big Four, or maybe after clearing your CA, you can apply towards a Big Four. So ऐसा कुछ नहीं है that Big Four नहीं होगा. So it will be a tag on your degree that this is a non-Big Four article. I have so many friends who have not done their articleship in Big Four, and they have done so well academically as well as professionally. So I mean, if anyone can add to it, Zeel or Devesh.
So if I come to add, just to mention that first, if you do not land an articleship into a Big Four, then your first focus would be to get as much as skills and as much as exposure which you can, and certainly that is going to help you once you qualify, because we had our campus placements some months back, and I have witnessed many of my friends who did their articleship from mid-sized firms. They landed a job in PSU, or they landed a job in big conglomerates with good packages. So that is not something which only Big Four can land you a job, but certainly if you get good skills, if you get good exposure, and if you are able to develop good communication and soft skills, then certainly there is something which will be open for you. And your second priority would be then to focus on academical part, and then to score good marks so that you can compensate for that particular thing which would be missing from your resume by compensating it with good marks or maybe a rank in CA final. So Big Four is certainly not the end. Even mid-sized firm associates or articles do get opportunities in big companies. So don't be disheartened if you do not land into Big Four.
Guys, I have to actually drop off. So thank you so much for joining. And I'm sure Devesh is going to help you a lot. Do subscribe to his channel Inside Angle. So just sharing a very personal thing. While I was preparing for my CA final exam, so Devesh was like kind of a mentor for me. He really, he was like a guide who held me at every stage of how to prepare for my CA finals. And I saw that vision with Devesh that he wanted to, help all of you so that you don't commit the mistakes while preparing for CA finals, which he did or which I did. So he's making a lot of videos on this channel, and it would be great. It would be great if you can subscribe to the channel and share those videos as much as you can. I'm sure that will motivate him to come up with a lot of videos. So just that's something which I wanted to say.
Thanks a lot, Shubham, for your kind words. But before you leave, in fact, I would like to tell everyone over here in this session, the idea of coming up with this session was actually of Shubham. So kudos to him. He was of the opinion that there are a lot of many questions that CA inter students, I mean, those expecting their results do have so far as the thing, I mean, so far as Big Four articleship is concerned. So thanks to you, Shubham. Thanks on behalf of all those who joined. Thanks to you for at the first place suggesting this idea, and second for sparing a lot of time, investing a lot of time. I'm sure investing a lot of time, because I'm sure all of these guys would have benefited out of your valuable insights. And guys, ho jaye na ek bar Big Four mein, or even if you don't land up in a Big Four, it's not really like Shubham mentioned, it's not the end of the world. But do let us know so that we can feel happy about it. Anyways, even if it is not Big Four, if say you like your inter, or if you land up a rank or anything, you do let us know so we can feel happy about it. Thanks a lot. We'll answer questions around CFA, etc. Right now, but I think Shubham has to drop off. Thanks a lot again, Shubham.
Thanks everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Yeah. So again, Zeel was saying something. Zeel, if you want to continue, else if you are done, I'll take up this question.
I think I had probably answered that particular question. And so if you want, we can take the 3 questions which you have raised there, or we can go on to the questions with which we can discuss. So your call.
Right. So just a second, I did have my views. I think both Zeel and Shubham very beautifully summarized, and in fact put forward a clear picture as to whether or not before it's the end of the world. It certainly is not. A lot of friends, like Zeel mentioned, have landed up very good placements even without a Big Four. Having said that, again, yes, Big Four may have an upper edge to you, but don't really get disappointed if you don't land up a Big Four. Just make sure that during your entire articleship period of 3 years, you do have enough learning wherever you go. मतलब ये कभी मत सोचना अगर Big Four नहीं मिल रहा तो मैं डमी ले लूं. ये कभी मत करना. Don't compromise your learning, whatever it is, because all the interviews that you have after your CA, more than anything else, test you around as to what you did in our articleship. Because CA आप पास हो गए, वो उनको भी पता है. So technical skills से ज़्यादा they will see as to आपने not पढ़ाई में क्या किया, आपने articleship base में क्या किया है. So wherever you go, you need to make sure you learn enough. But yes, if not Big Four, then it's not the end of the world. That was one. I do have a few more things in terms of either like Bain or MBB, etc. to share. But before that, let us take the questions in the chat box. If those guys want to drop off, they can. I have, I think, 3 things to share. One is how to manage studies as a CA finalist. Do have videos around it as well on the channel. You can subscribe. But want to like give you a broad roadmap. That is one. Second is around the conferences stuff. And third is around my experience at Bain, etc., which a lot of you were interested in knowing. So before that, let us.
I think Divesh, we can add up to that particular question of whether you should go for an industrial training after 1.5 years at Big Four, or should you continue your articleship with Big Four?
Yeah, I think I will start with this question. Answering this question, I would say, you know, this is. I think it is very early to answer this question as to whether or not you should go for industrial training, and lot much depends on what are your future goals. If you have that clarity of probably taking up a job and which sector you want to take up a job, if you have that bit of a clarity, there's no harm in going for an industrial training. The reason I'm sure the reason Zeel didn't go for an industrial training was we didn't have as much of clarity as to which industry or which sector we want to take up a job in future, which is why we didn't go for industrial training. Having said that, again, it's again too early for you guys to answer this question for yourself. You may have a preliminary view in your mind as to karna ya nahi karna, but please take the final call only after 1 to 1.5 years of your articleship is over, and then think about industrial training karna ya nahi. Major difference between articleship and industrial training is articleship is all around working under a CA in a CA firm. Majorly doing the proper traditional CA stuff, not to say ye har jagah hota hai, but more or less somewhere revolving around tax or audit or M&A, etc. Industrial training is actually you almost working as an employee of a particular company and handling a particular work profile. If that is probably the most simplest way I can put it. Moving on to the next question, I would say, Zeel, what was the first one in the chat box? If I wait for 1 month for Big Four calls, I may miss out on the local mid-sized firms. I would say yes. On one hand, while you should wait for Big Four, but at the same time, don't miss out on other chances. So you may, you may start in another firm if you feel that 1 month is a too long wait. It depends actually. It depends on a lot. You may be frank about that mid-sized firm. You may ask for the joining date. If it's like 15 days ahead, you may take accordingly. That a lot will depend on actually the circumstances of the case, and can't really comment on that. But a bird in hand is better than two in the bush is also something that people say. So decide accordingly. I think lots of circumstances, you know best.
To extend that, I think it depends personally as in how you have performed in the interview, because that was the case with mine. I actually performed well in the interview. I was confident enough that I will be getting shortlisted or I will be getting selected, but I did not get the call for maybe 15 to 20 days. So at that particular point of time, this thought comes into your mind whether I should go for an articleship into a mid-sized firm, or should I wait and wait for the offer from the Big Four to get into my hand. So it depends upon your confidence level. If you feel that you are confident enough, then you can wait for a period of 15-20 days And certainly, as far as I know, mid-sized firms do have vacancies every now and then. So if it at all you do not land up in Big Four after waiting for 15-20 days, you can definitely go for articleship in mid-sized firm.
Rightly said. I think yes, the new course is expected, but unless and until you know the exact date of it being implemented, don't really worry too much about it right now.
We would not be the right person to comment on that.
I think you need to ask ICA, which I'm sure will not come up. I can just tell you this: the new course. So basically, we were the ones to first appear for the May 18 intern. So basically, the new course for intermediate, we were the first batch of students to actually appear for those exams. But I know this as a matter of fact that उसके पहले 2-3 साल से बात चल रही थी कि new course लाना है, but it ended up taking a lot of time to finally get that new course. So you never know. तब तक new course है, तब तक you probably end up completing CA final as well, and there's always an option to continue either with the current course or with the new course that may be introduced. Don't worry too much about it. अभी का course जो है वो ध्यान में रख के चालू कर दो. ये मत सोचो कि नया आएगा तब चालू करेंगे. Please don't do that. How to? So I think someone mentioned कि mail करना चाहिए because links. Yes, agreed. So in fact, mailing resumes is the right way to go about it. If you know the one to whom you are mailing is the right person to do that. So that is what I would say. If I select mid-sized firm and call comes from before, I think we've answered this. Different names of Deloitte and LinkedIn profiles like LLP, US offices, etc. I think these are all different entities of the US. Sorry, my bad. Different entities of Deloitte. So basically, Deloitte has an LLP. It has there's a private company also. There's a partnership firm also. There is, a lot of them as well. So like offices of the US is, I think Zeal could answer that better. But it's basically the different kinds of work that they do. Deloitte Haskins and Sells LLP is majorly where we undergo our articleship. Either Deloitte Haskins and Sells LLP or Deloitte Haskins and Sells as a partnership firm is majorly where we do our tax or articleship.
Deloitte US is something which is a sort of KPO like, wherein you get to support the teams which are working for overseas clients, and that is certainly not open for article assistants to get into there. So that is not relevant as such right now. I think Devesh, you can take up that question about how you guys did groom up your personality and communication skills.
I think good credit of it also goes to Big Four. When I say also goes, it's not just Big Four. It could be several reasons, but yeah, a lot of credit also goes to Big Four because when you are in a corporate culture, you certainly have to interact with a lot of people, a lot of experienced folks, a lot of folks with extremely good soft skills. So that is one way you get to improve. Obviously, there's this conferences part that I will come to. I know a few people have requested me to take that first, but I think I'll still take up the other questions first and we'll come back to it a little later and would try to filter those questions as much as possible. Just a second. New course I've answered. Mid-sized firm I've answered. Manage classes while working at Big Four. Ashi, I think Ashish already answered this. Still, I might elaborate this later as to how to manage the final studies. Alternatively, I think my YouTube channel is something that you could refer to. In times of lockdown, was articleship going online? Yes. It was obviously, so we didn't get a single day leave because of the lockdown because we were all working from home. And was it really helpful? Depends. Actually, for those who joined their articleship during that period, it was difficult because unless they are there physically, it's difficult to get inducted into the process. For us people, because when lockdown struck, we were almost done with 2 years of our articleship. We already knew things. So I wouldn't say it didn't go well for us. मतलब हमको पता था तो घर से करो, ऑफिस से करो, बात एक ही थी more or less. Or acted as a burden sitting in front of the screen for long hours. I think that depends यार. मतलब Seal will say कि मेरे को घर जाके काम करने को मिला, so for him it might be a good thing. And देखो in front of the screen for long hours, so office में भी होना ही है, घर पे भी होना ही है, client base में भी होना ही है. Sorry, I'm like speeding up a little with my space.
If you are in this field, I think you should not have any sort of complaints about screen timing because screen timings are going to be there.
Right. And some CV getting logged 6 months. I think the main thing is if they've considered your CV once and they've not ended up selecting you, or else if they've selected you but you didn't end up joining, then for 6 months they won't prefer you as a candidate. Is the simple way I could put it. I'd given my foundation exam in December 21, doing a job with a local firm. It will get articleship from Big Four. I think job with a local firm or not won't matter. I think a lot will depend on you cracking that interview at Big Four plus your C-Inter results. I mean, how you fare well. I mean, whether you fare well or not. If you take audit, I would have to manage travel. So how do I manage physical classes? Certainly difficult, and I would say not possible if I'm to put it that way. But yeah, I think Zeal can answer that better.
A separate session by Divesh can be of help for you, but certainly physical classes would not be helpful for you when you will be in audit department, specifically even in CA final. Personally speaking, physical classes are having their advantages as well as disadvantages. Same is the case with virtual classes as well. So take an informed call, but it means lot more discussion, and I think this is not the right forum where we can discuss this particular thing.
Right. So physical versus pen drive classes, not certainly we can give you a one-word answer, but yeah, my personal preference would be if you go for audit, given how difficult it will be, go for pen drive classes. But again, don't take my word as a grill. Resume should be in a single page. Yes, try to have everything on a single page. In fact, even after qualifying, we had our CV on the single page. How to tap email IDs of HR if not provided in LinkedIn posts. I will not be able to answer this. I will say reach out to others working in the organization, try to contact them as much as possible. I mean, the way we contacted Deloitte was we actually visited there physically and filled a form and then submitted our CV physically. Eva had the same process at that point of time. KPMG had the link, got the email ID of HR from either my friends or by going there physically. So it depends too much on the location as well. But I think one way is pinging people on LinkedIn from different organizations, and that's how, if they are of help, which I'm sure a lot of them are, that's one way to do it. If I select mid-size firm calls from Big Four, I think it's been answered. Deloitte has not begun articles recruitment. हमारे time पे Deloitte का recruitment was post result, but this time I've heard they have started accepting CVs at the first place. So might differ again. You need to check, please. Not really sure about this. How attempts are counted by Big Four while considering attempts for inter? Is there number of attempts a candidate appear for exams, or just 3 attempts for clearing foundation exam? No, I think it's the number of attempts that you appear for the exam. It's that way, because that's okay. Can you expect to? Okay, I think let me not answer this question. The question that was put is, can you expect to? Let me still not go. I think a simpler way to put it would be: do you expect a chance of getting into a relationship if you are into Big Four? May or may not. I think it's about luck. I would put it that way.
It's not advisable.
I think everyone has a totally different opinion on this. It's a lot about your luck, your personal preferences, etc. In my case, it was a no, so can't really speak for everyone. If I want to do an industrial training later, Big Four is good, or media paper articleship, depends both the ways. If you like, probably see, going into Big Four will land you a higher chance of getting into an industrial training, so that way it is good. But OBHC, there are both pros and cons. But if you want that higher chance, Big Four makes more sense. Basically, I'm from a regular college, so is it feasible to take audit department as the outstation works? Will it be manageable? Difficult to say. I need to know a lot about which college you are in, how is the attendance part, is it fine if you reappear for exams, retest, etc. But yeah, if you're going into audit, be mentally prepared that you might have to miss out on exams, etc. Regular college might be very difficult, so be mentally prepared for that. It might be very difficult, yeah, almost impossible. So keep that in your mind. Where one can get more exposure in working in startups, I think someone answered this question. I think Ashish did. Pen drive rather than physical, I think I answered this question again. What if we try again after mail ID if we didn't get a call? I think it's very good to seek for a confirmation when you send a mail as to whether or not your CV has been accepted by them at the first place or received by them at the first place. I think that would help a lot. Cold emailing work for seeking articleship. There's always a probability. So there is a probability of it getting shortlisted or rather at the first place considered, and it also has a probability not to. But the better way would be to go through the best process that you know. For examall, we knew that Deloitte Ahmedabad, the process was to go there, fill the form physically, and submit it. So try to ask other people as to what is the exact process across different locations depending on your location and the particular form, and that way you will have to apply. Okay, I think there are a lot of questions. Let us not go into too much of that.
I think we can take this question up if such lockdown situation arises again and we are offered articleship online and before, then should we go for it or should we do physical articleship from another normal firm? I think there is something which is not sure whether there will be again a lockdown situation which will be arising right now. And since the things are easing right now, I don't foresee anything in the next 6 months to come wherein you will be having your articleship in a virtual board. But certainly if that is the case, I would advise you that if at all you choose an articleship at before and a lockdown situation arises and you are working from home, you need to be in touch with your senior or a reporting manager frequently. You need to get feedback at regular point of time, because that is one of the biggest disadvantages. Because of the lack of the interaction, you may lose out on getting good exposure. But that is a temporary situation and that should not hamper you from not selecting a Big Four. So I think go for Big Four even if lockdown situation arises.
And I would say, yaar, shub bolo, वापस lockdown nahi chahiye, please. So, or maybe chahiye, I mean, depends. Jisko chahiye, jisko nahi chahiye. So let me not say that. But in any case, broadly speaking, what Zeel said, I totally have consensus. PwC Kolkata versus Jamshedpur, I think I have not worked in either of them, so not in a position to comment. I think that's your call to take. I think that I saw one more relevant question. Yeah, I was just coming to that. Zeel, you can add a little to what I say. Basically, I think Aparna also had this question earlier, but we didn't take her question, or maybe she didn't raise her hand. So there's a similar question that Aparna has asked, and that is it advisable to apply for a different location rather than a place you live in? May or may not be. I mean, in my case, because I knew I had before year in Ahmedabad, I thought of in a way staying in my comfort zone, or putting it other way, taking advantage of I mean, if I have it, why not? So that was one aspect. I think it depends a lot on how ready you are mentally to move out of your house at the moment. That's one. Exposure wise, I will say certainly there is a difference between, say, the clientele that will be there at Jamshedpur or a Chennai versus a Mumbai or a Delhi. Mumbai or Delhi generally will have much better clients than even Ahmedabad or any other place. So that is one call to take, but it's again a personal call. Telling about my call, talking about my call was to stay in my hometown and go for Big Four. Zeel, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, certainly. I think you have added it. I don't think that's nothing.
Yeah. After how many days supposed to join office after the release of result? I think my case was around 22 days, but it differs. Yeah, anywhere between 20 days to 45 days, 2 months.
It was around one month for me. So, it can range up to 1 month, 2 months, depending upon the practice of the firm. So, there is no thumb rule as in when you can expect a placement in a Big Four.
Right. What can be, this is the last question I'm taking, and I have a few things to add to this, which is why I'm trying to make it quick. Which can be better, Big Four of Ahmedabad or Mumbai? Honestly, I've not worked in Mumbai, so can't comment on the environment that they have in Mumbai. So far as Ahmedabad was concerned, environment was good. That's what I can comment. But the thing is, again, you speak to your seniors who worked in, दोनों इसमें फॉर्म में से और आधा दोनों लोकेशन में से एक जने से बात कर लो and you get an idea. But again, at the end of the day, it all depends on the team, your manager, etc. So no real thumb rule or no real one word answer to this.
So for Ahmedabad, it was good.
Yes, please, last question. Okay, sorry. So this is the last question. Big Four, if candidate took more than one attempt in clearing inter. See, being very honest, this is the fact. Big Four prefers rankers at the first place, and it is a very clear fact because आप भी अगर CV shortlist करने बैठे होगे, this is the way when you will shortlist, right? Second, it will prefer first attempt candidates. But that doesn't mean it will not take the others. There have been people who, despite having multiple attempts, might have landed to Big Four. But having said that, I told you about their preference, which will be either a rank or a first attempt thing. But there's no harm in trying. Please do.
It depends upon the vacancy and the number of applications which they have received. So certainly there is no thumb rule for that.
Correct. Advice to mention first attempt in resume. I think it's not really needed. I mean, अगर clear दिख ही रहा है कि हाँ ठीक है, this is the first attempt, so not really required, but you can still. I mean, there's no harm to it. So you can still.
Doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't really make a difference. I think that was it, and I think I have a few more things to add. One was regarding managing studies in CA Fine. Another was the conferences part, and last but not the least, because there are few folks who are terribly interested in knowing about MBB, which has surprised me a lot, and I've seen those folks staying till the end. In fact, till now. And first of all, guys, thanks a lot. In fact, it's been more than 2 hours 45 minutes now since you all have joined. Thanks to Zeel as well for managing his patience and being here. But glad that still there are 50 odd people who 52 odd people who managed to continue over this call. I'm sure you would have benefited out of it, and you will continue to benefit even going forward. I think first thing first.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think before you go, so before you go on to the next section of what exactly are the MBB opportunities and how to land up over there, a simple piece of advice from me would be, at this particular stage of the life wherein you are, I think majority of you, not all of you, but majority of you would not be in a position to make an informed decision whether you want to go into this particular field or not. So if you are really made up your mind that you just need to go into MBB, that's a different story. But if you have actually made up your mind and just if you want to get an understanding of this particular domain and how exactly are the things working over there, that's completely fine. But I would certainly advise not to make up your mind to go into this particular field, because you would never know what would be the area which will attract attention once you join your articleship. Because if I give an example, the subject which you like most, or the subject which you dislike the most in inter or final is audit. But for me, I even dislike the subject, but when I did audit practically, that was something which I liked the most. So theoretically, if you're not liking something, it is not something which you will not like practically. So take an informed decision, and I would certainly suggest take a pause in your life. However, do keep your options open, and Devesh is there to guide you. Yeah. So thank you all of you for taking your time out, and all the very best for your results. Maybe after 10 days, or 12 days, I think you all would be there in this CA final journey with us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Zeel, for spending a lot of time with us. Thanks a lot, Zeel.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone would be grateful to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zeel. Good night. Bye-bye. Okay, so guys, I'm still there on the call till the last person leaves. So I will try to answer the questions, but I'd say let's not go on to the questions anymore. Let me add the bit that I wanted to since very long. I will just take this one last question. I think a couple of things. In fact, I think Harpreet wants to ask KPMG Ahmedabad or KPMG Jaipur. I think between the two, if you have KPMG Jaipur, you may try again. It's your call. But I think you may continue with KPMG Jaipur. That's what I would have chosen, like I did. But that's again your call, your personal call. Take 2 articles from both the places and then decide. Devendra, basically the number of attempts is actually the number of times you actually appeared for an exam. So if basically, just let me know in the chat box if I am not audible at any point of time. my internet connection is a little glitchy. That's why. So basically, number of times you've actually sat for the exam is the number of attempts that are counted.
Sir, you're.
Am I now better audible?
Yes, please continue.
Perfect. Just let me know on the chat box. Don't like put on the audio. Just let me know on the chat box. Number of times you've actually sat for the exam is actually the time that is the number of times that is considered for you having cleared an exam, right? Not the gap. But yeah, there might be a question around the gap, and you just have to justify it. Do they select pre-result? What is the percentage of people they do select? But that's obviously subject to you clearing inter. Percentage of people are not really sure yet, because Deloitte didn't really hire pre-results. Okay, now not taking any more questions. Sorry for that. Three things basically. First one being okay. Before anything else, once again, thanks for staying there till the end. I'm sure it's still not the end. Another 10 minutes is of yours is what I'll take. First things first. Please, if you haven't already, go and subscribe to my channel Inside Angle on YouTube. I have been and I will keep trying posting more such videos, not related to articleship, around conferences, how to manage studies in CA final or CA Inter for that matter, etc. on the channel. I had put down the link before as well. I'll put it here again. So in case there's anything that we've not covered in the session but covered in those videos, you can certainly benefit out of it as well. Right. Again, having said that, going ahead, I put down the link in the chat box. Going ahead, okay, Inside Angle had already helped you. Really glad to know that, Anshul. Do keep letting us know about all of this in the comments in the videos that actually help you. That really would motivate us. All of this would certainly motivate us to develop more such content. Again, now back to the topic. One is thanks, Muskan. Again, not seeing the chat box for the next 10 minutes, trying to focus on what I want to say and try to listen to this carefully, because this is certainly a guidance out of experience of my or in fact I would say our journey during articleship, not just Big Four in general. Basically, I would say, like I said earlier, first year try to focus on the work during articleship. Second year try to focus on the lectures. When I say focus, I don't mean do only that. If first year में सिर्फ articleship करो, second year में सिर्फ lectures करो, ऐसा नहीं है. It's just about balancing things, right? That's one. Second is I would say start lectures. You may not start lectures immediately post results. You may take a month or so or a couple of months. I took, as a matter of fact, 3 months before starting the lectures, but don't wait for too long. Maybe a month or so would be fine, because starting articleship में child load भी कम हो, so you may be able to attend lectures as well. So you may start lectures like within 1 month of you clearing your exam once you get selected into a form. That's when you can start. I mentioned the sequence of lectures as well on my videos in Inside Angle, so not mentioning it again. Would just say first year try completing 3 subjects, second year try completing 3 subjects, and the remaining 2, one being elective and another being DT, is something that you have to complete I think in the last 3 months before your leaves start, so that way you'll be able to complete all of your lectures in those 27 months. And trust me, it is totally possible. Just keep a target कि मेरे को 3 महीने में मान लो ऐसे 70 lectures complete करने हैं, so you anyhow would complete in those 3 months, either in the weekends or during the weekdays, pairing 3 hours वाला slot. That is something that you need to do. मतलब अगर मेरे को 5 lectures एक हफ्ते में करना है, that is the target I have kept for myself. If I was not able to do it on weekdays, I will do it on weekend. If I was able to do it 1 lecture every day on weekdays, I have that weekend free for myself. So that is something that you'll have to really keep in mind. And that really helps while planning lectures, so as to avoid, because होता ही है last में काफी बारी हो जाता है, because a lot of courses pending, you either have second thoughts about appearing for that particular attempt or deferring it, or probably not doing as well as you could have done. So don't really avoid those lectures, and try to remain adopt a planned approach towards the lectures or your CA final studies. That's fine. Again, when I say planned approach, I don't mean neglect articleship for lectures. Please don't do that. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आज मेरे को सेवा करने की जरूरत है articleship में because there's workload, please do that. You can manage lectures, otherwise भी हो जाएगा. If you do the calculation, do the math, आराम से possible है lectures complete करना if you remain on track since day one. I think that's just in short what I wanted to mention. There's certainly other videos that are there on my channel that you can refer to. Next is basically talking about extracurriculars and a regular college. The regular college, I think, is not really something that I should be mentioning over here, because the thing is, most of you guys would have already started, or in fact, you guys would have been done with the college, so let me not bring that up. But I, as a matter of fact, was a student in a regular college. In fact, the trophies that you could see in my background, the first 5 of them, they are from my college, different events that I participated in my college, and I did try. It was a very difficult thing to do, but I did manage. I was able to, with obviously the support of my team at Articleship, that I was able to stay afloat so far as the regular college is concerned. Again, moving on to, I think, the extracurriculars part, specifically the conferences part. So IC has this very good concept of CA student conferences. I'm sure you would have heard about it. If you've not, I did not when I joined Articleship, so just like mentioning it across. Basically, there is this one CA student conference that is organized in most of the branches of IC, at least the major ones. at least once in a year. Basically, there are like 10 to 15 or 20 technical topics. Say one topic could be, for example, say input tax credit. I mean, just putting it very simply, it could be anything and everything. But likewise, there are like 15 topics. You have to make a paper. The paper, if I have to put it like very short way, it is a research paper on that particular topic. Around 1500 to 2000 words of it, and you have to send your paper within the dates that are given. And if your paper is selected, then you get to go to that particular conference, students presentation in a students conference. So you get to present your paper in that particular students conference. So in my case, my first CA students conference was in Guwahati. So one thing is, अपने hometown की CA students conference में ही जा सकते हो, ऐसा नहीं है. Outstation conferences होती है, वहाँ पे जाना रहता है, and it's not that it's at your cost. ICI does reimburse according to the rules. I think you guys would have lost my voice in between. Yeah, I think I have come back. Yeah, so ICI does. Yeah, great. So ICI does have its own rules for reimbursement. So I think that's not really an issue. But then the major point is, see, in my case, I went to Guwahati. I mean, I was a part of like six. Yeah, you are certainly allowed to do that, Sakit. But again, so I've across the 3 years of my articleship presented papers in 6 CA student conferences, all in different cities of India, but Ahmedabad. So not Ahmedabad, not my hometown, other 6 different cities. In fact, Guwahati, Chandigarh, let's say Pune was third, Pune International Conference. Then Indore was one. Last 2 were Vadodara and Ghaziabad. And in fact, as a matter of fact, one day prior to my CA final results, that is on 12th of September, I was presenting a paper so I was spending the last day of my CA student life as a CA student paper presenter at a Ghaziabad CA students conference. And in fact, 13th morning, I came back to Ahmedabad, and within 2 hours, I saw my CA final results. So that's like, that's on a side note, but anyway, so the CA student conference is really a wonderful experience for all those who want to. My personal take was, I wanted to probably meet new people, which certainly I could. When I went to Guwahati, I really knew no one when I went. Going to a different city, traveling alone, that was like good 2,020 to 300 kilometers away from my house, exploring a new city and meeting so many new people, getting to speak in front of a crowd that is totally new to you, getting to speak in front of a good, so in my case, Pune was 3,000 student crowds. I was able to, and that's one major reason why I feel my communication skills are better than they were before attending these conferences. So that is also one reason. So when you meet new people, certainly soft skills is something that develops. A very good do session on CA conference paper presentation will certainly do that as well. That is something that has been on my mind since a long time. Yes, MBB, I'll come to that just a second. I'm coming to that after this one. So extracurriculars is something that is really matter, and conference is one major one. Eligibility is nothing but pursuing articleship. That's the only eligibility criteria for going to conferences. The only thing is your paper needs to get selected, and you have to go to that particular conference and present your papers. It's not really, I think so many people do that. So that's I think I'll not go into the nitty-gritties of how to make a paper, etc. But the only takeaway is try to research more about conferences. I think if you go to my channel also, I would have posted community posts around conferences, etc. And I will keep posting as and when any new conference comes up. I will keep putting it as a community post so that all of you guys are aware about that particular conference. So that is certain. And not just that, so conferences are certainly one aspect. I can go endlessly speaking about benefits of conference, but for now, let me just put it this way: it is beneficial. Okay, but let me not go on to state the long list of how it is beneficial. Again, moving on, there are other things as well that ICI organizes. That is basically, yeah, sure, I will post a video, but let me now focus on the extracurriculars part of it, which was also one of the major reasons. I mean, not in my case, but in general, which is one of the major reasons people get shortlisted into something like a BN or a BCG. Basically, talking about extracurriculars or conferences, one aspect, ICI also organizes National Talent Hunt, wherein there are competitions for elocution, quiz. I'd say now, हमारे time पे तो नहीं था, so couldn't really be part of it. But there's also this debate and paper presentation competition. Basically, there are 3 levels to it. Branch, if you are in the top 2 of the branch or whatever the criteria are, you go to regionals. Regionals may the top 4 from each region go to the national level. So in my case, I had represented WIRC in the national level elocution just last year. So like 15 days before my CA final result. Good thing about all of these events is you need to meet so many people, and certainly helps you groom your soft skills. Apart from you having something really nice on your CV, which is very different from what other CV students have. And you know, CMG wala discussion is perennial, chalta hi rehta hai. So if we want to put an end to that discussion from our end, probably what we can do is try to build our soft skills. And iska koi course karne se ye nahi aayega. It will come over a period of time. Big Four could contribute to that. Maybe even a non-Big Four could contribute to that. Just make sure that you keep having something in terms of extracurriculars. You keep doing something. I will say that certainly, you know, helps a lot. That's again long story short said. I know it was not short said, but still there's a lot more that I could speak about this, so that's why I mentioned short said. Coming to the last part of it, I'm really happy at the first place that a lot of you really asked me questions about MBB, Bain, etc. To be very honest and frank with you guys, when I joined Articleship, I really did not know what MBB is, what Bain is, what what MBB is or what Big 3 is. I'm being very frank with you guys, but really glad to know that so many people have had questions around MBB or Bain or a BCG. So that is something that I'm really admiring about all of you people, and I would say you guys are certainly ahead that ahead than probably what we guys were back then when we were at your place. So you certainly have a bright career in front of you. Yes, Aishwarya, I did see your question in the Google form as well. So I was really amazed by the fact that people are talking about MBBs. I think I just put it into short. The shortlisting criteria for being BCG, they have a preference for number one rankers. Number two is Big Fours. So these two are the major ones. But then there are also people who might not have a rank or might not have a Big Four articleship, but have a lot of extracurriculars on their CV, which actually makes them shortlisted for being BCG. In my case, I'm not sure what it was amongst the three, but certainly rank, Big Four, extracurriculars. I'm not saying all the three, but at least the two of these three is something that you will require for a Bain or a BCG. Being very transparent about it, right? And okay, ITT, try to complete your ITT and OC as soon as possible because firms would want you to get done with that. Okay, yes, we will. Fine. What kind of extracurricular? Something that I just mentioned about conferences, say locution competitions, debate, presentations, etc., etc. MBBs, what is it that you guys exactly want to know? I think I just spoke about their shortlisting criteria. When you see a candidate for when you recruit for one their CV में क्या देखते हैं वो तो मैं बोल चुका हूँ. उनका इंटरव्यू लोगे तो when you ask them questions, you certainly would come to know about what they whether they are confident enough in what they speak, what are their motives in life, etc. How interested are, how keen are they into a particular role, etc., etc., etc. And obviously how sound their concepts are. So that is obviously one major thing that I would see. Yes, I think a couple of you had questions around MBB. How did you prepare for case interviews? But isn't it too early for me to answer this question for you? I mean, I am sure if you are seeking for articleship right now, your case interviews are more than 3 years ahead. I mean, still glad. There are a lot of case interview booklets. I think still not the right platform to say this, but a lot of case interview booklets. You can go through them. You can practice it with your peers. There are a lot of videos on YouTube as well. You go through them, you get an idea of how these case interviews are. Overlap between CA curriculum and MBB role, to be very honest, there's none. I would not really say none, but there's hardly any. In terms of at least the study part of it, maybe a little bit of a SCMP does help, but there's no tax or an audit or financial reporting into MBB, so there's no real overlap. So how I would put it. Yeah, so what more questions? Is there any central info center from where we can come to know about upcoming sessions, talent hunt, etc.? There is, I think, like Shia mentioned, there's one SSCP portal as well. I think that's the same BOS portal. We used to have the BOS. I'm not sure of the website name. I think it was some BOS portal that was there. I think it could be the SSCP one. But you can also stay tuned to my YouTube channel. I will post anything that I come across so far as this is concerned, and you can come to know from that. BOS activities, I rightly mentioned. There's this BOS activity portal. Yeah. Anything else that you guys wanted to know about MB? Because that's the last question that I was addressing. And if you guys have any other question, if it is very urgent, otherwise let's put an end to this session.
Devesh, can I ask a question? It's really important.
Yeah.
It's related to CA final. Suppose I'm starting with FR first and I'm taking on subjects after that. So how do I revise FR before my CA final leaves? Because if I've done FR first and I directly take up FR at the CA final time, so I would not recollect what I studied way back 2 years back.
I will say, so when you do your lectures, try to keep revising side by side. मतलब एक बार अपने side से भी कर लिया करो, तब at least the basic concepts will get cleared. And 2 years after that, I mean 2 years after that, as in once you are approaching your studies, I would say at least 6 months before. So there's no timeline. I mean, I'm really saying this timeline that I feel is the appropriate one. It could be different from different people depending on what you aspire to achieve in CA finals. I would say anywhere between 3 to 6 months before your CA final leaves start. Before your CS final leaves start, on the side of lectures and articleship, try to start self-study, and then us time you could revise FR once before your leaves. So that's the one way to do it. Baki thoda bahut bhuloge.
Summary notes help. Like if you're reading summary notes of something,
they may, but they may, but वही है, मतलब lot of things change यार, तो summary notes बनाना चाहिए, not really denying that, but more than that, I would say go through what you have been taught in the lectures. That would help much more. I'm not saying don't make summary notes, please do, but go through those lectures. Could you also brief about what the ICIIM Alliance for Rankers is? It's basically a course called MDP. Right. So it's I mean, it is actually not very wrong way to put it, but it's Similar or a step up from GMCS, the major focus is to develop soft skills soft skills. That's what IAM does. And this time it was with IAM Lucknow, and unfortunately it was a virtual one. So we did attend the MDP. So yes, MDP is a motivation for a lot of people to get a rank, but yes, try to aim for a rank at the first place certainly help. Do MBBs prefer some fields of articleship? Not at all. Not at all. No preference at all in terms of the field of articleship. Firm, yes. Big Four. I mean, like I said, and not just Big Four. It might be something like a BD or GT as well. But like I said, Big Fours would be preferred. Okay, yeah. Thanks for your kind words, Anshul and Sneha. Thanks to you, Vignesh. Anything else that you have? I'll be very happy to answer any queries that you have probably in the next session that we organize. Yes. Last question, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, what are the additional courses that we do during our articleship, along with the seeing the current market demand that we have? So many do financial modeling, and what would you advise on this?
I think it would have been really great if I would have got Ashish to answer this question, because he's done CFA 2 levels. But talking about me, Zeel, Shubham, all of us, or even Yash for that matter, all of us didn't really go for any other course alongside articleship. Yeah, Big Four mein articleship karo. Just a second, yeah. So Big Four articleship plus regular college plus these extracurriculars, iske bahar time nahi mila. So to be very honest and frank, I didn't really find the need of going for any other course, unless if you are very clear you want to do something in life. I mean, in terms of probably say becoming a lawyer and you want to start with LLB, or probably very damn sure about going into finance, you do CFA, etc. But otherwise, generally, if there's no clarity, may skip going for any other course. Instead, try to really have that focus on your articleship and your CFA studies, and obviously extracurriculars like I mentioned. Thanks Neha, thanks Shrishti, thanks Priyanka, thanks Simran, thanks Nidhi, thanks Aishwarya, thanks Dev, thanks Vignesh. Yeah, I think that was the last question. And guys, please thank you. Please subscribe to my channel Inside Angle. We'll try to have another session if possible. We'll really try our best to have another session post your results either on Big Four or articleship in general or other topics as well. You guys could let me know how you would let me know. Don't put it on WhatsApp if possible. You may put it on WhatsApp as well. Just don't ping the admin. I think you've just this one thing. Admin wala number mera nahi actually. This is one spare number, and that's the admin actually. So don't put it on DM to that number. Just put it on the WhatsApp group, or preferable you either comment it on my YouTube channel. Alternatively, you can ping me on LinkedIn. Alternatively, you can mail on the Inside Angle mail ID from which you would have received the mail. But we'll try to certainly host another session. Until then, you guys can subscribe to my channel. I think link I had posted, we'll post it again. Would love to have your responses over there. Thanks, Shruti. Hope you all really like this session. Please do share the link of this channel, or do share the videos of this channel with your friends as well. It would really keep me motivating to upload such videos. Having said that, wish you all the best for your results. Any good news that you have in terms of either a rank or clearing or getting into Big Four or anything for that matter, please do let us know, all of us, not just me. That would really help. Thanks again, Aishwarya, thanks Cindy, thanks Yash, thanks Yashraj. Okay, thanks a lot. I think we'll end it over here. Thanks, Aparna. Have a great weekend. Yeah, it's just one more day, so that's a little bad, but no worries. We'll certainly catch up. Yeah, I need to have my dinner. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Anyways, chalo, thanks everyone. Hope you really liked, and do share the channel with others as well, and do subscribe abhi jaake. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye bye. Good night. Thanks for joining us.